Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Thrifting Sparks. How are you doing? Are you okay? I hope you are. I hope wherever you are, you can take a deep breath, experience a little bit of goodness and joy today, and carry that with you throughout the day. I want to preface this video. Is this a habit I'm going to do where I'm like, I'm going to preface this video by saying, I think probably also because I'm like adapting to stuff in real time while also having tried to have planned some of this ahead of time. So now, what I wanted to tell you about today's episode is that I had already recorded episode 2, Catching Your Breath, prior to me even launching the first episode of Thrifting Sparks. So this episode was kind of like short and sweet. It was already done. And then, I decided I wanted to come back on here and just give context and nuance to like what launching the podcast was like, what the feedback was like on launch day, as well as navigating some unexpected negativity that my sweet little soul was not prepared for. But we transitioned through it and we rolled with it. And, in true Thrifting Sparks fashion, I want to talk to you about it and tell you what I learned from it. So if you're watching today's episode, you're going to notice that I am dressed completely different in episode 2. So that's going to be why. The second half of this episode was already recorded. So this is just kind of a fun little addition that I wanted to add to the podcast because a couple of things. Number one, I got really amazing feedback from a lot of you guys when I first launched the podcast. We're going to get into that. I'm going to take you back to launch day, everything I was feeling, what that experience was like. But before I do all of that, just one of the pieces of feedback that I got from some of you listeners was that you loved it, but you almost wished it was a little bit longer, which was shocking because I was like, wait, I'm sorry, you want to listen to me for longer? Okay. So I wanted to just bulk up today's episode by talking about all of this, coming and explaining to you that I also am really taking your feedback to heart. And so I love that some of you guys wanted to just talk to me more, hear more, and get to know me a little bit better. So that is what I am going to do on today's episode. Now, if you follow me on social media, you probably saw that on launch day, there was, in fact, sadly, some negativity that had happened. Now, let me tell you the story. I feel like Sophia Petrillo in Golden Girls, where she's like, picture it, Sicily, 1912. I'm like, picture it, Cara, hyperventilating in her apartment. So it's launch day. I hit go on the podcast. Now, in the past, working on a team, you've got multiple people reviewing a project piece before it ever sees the light of day. So you get people's feedback and opinions, and like maybe you soften some things or you tweak some stuff, and then you put it out there in the world. This project's mine. And for the first time, I wasn't sending it to a bunch of people to be like, is this okay? What do you think about this? I wanted to trust my own gut that I had created something that I was proud of and to put it out there. Now, of course, it's nerve-wracking, especially a project like this. I mean, Thrifting Sparks is essentially me saying, here are the most intimate parts of my life. Here are the struggles that I am currently navigating. I am laying this out for you and I am trusting you with this because I also think that there is wisdom that can be taken from that. Right. And so that's really the purpose of the podcast. And when I first hit publish, having no one to really tell me what they thought, tell me if it was okay, or be like, you know what? No, dude, this is ballsy. Go for it. It absolutely sounds amazing. I really had to trust my gut and believe in myself and choose to decide when it was ready and then put it out there. And I was so grateful for so much of the feedback. It was so beautiful to get some of the responses. And I would love to take a moment to share some of them with you. I'm not going to name any names because I didn't have a chance to reach out to any of these listeners and like get their permission to share their names. But I just found that this message has no personal details or anything like that. But this message from a listener was so similar to so many other messages that I got from women that were listening to this podcast. And so I'd love to read this and share this with you. It really meant so much to me. This listener said, Cara, I just listened to your first episode. I honestly felt like every word you said was me to my core. It's funny how many of us are just walking around feeling like it's only me. I cried, smiled, and just really enjoyed your episode. I feel like I've walked my entire life being the exact same. It was like you were describing me. I'm 40, and this year has been one of those years where I feel like I don't even know who I am. So thank you for saying that for seeing that part of yourself so that I can have someone to relate to, someone who gets it. And that message meant the absolute world to me. So thank you specifically to this listener that sent that. That was exactly the ethos behind why I wanted to create this. I wanted less women to feel alone or isolated in what they're navigating and going through. And, I was talking with one of my friends earlier this week, and one of the reasons this project, although it's vulnerable, feels relatively natural to me is because I have always known that I'm not special. I am innately human, and to be human is to have feelings of shame and vulnerability and guilt and confusion and all of those things. And I think that that's what allows me to some extent to almost separate myself after I've healed, of course, from what I've gone through and just be like, here it is for you. Because I know my story is not going to be unique. There's going to be another woman, whether she's my age, older, younger, she's going to get to a point where maybe something that I share helps save her from a mistake that I made early on. And to me, that is what womanhood really is. That is what girlhood really is, right? It's not being a catty mean girl. It's being a girl's girl. It's being the girl in the bathroom that's like, oh, hey, need help zipping up your dress? Psh, I got you. You look amazing, by the way. Have a great night. That's being a girl's girl. It's just such a different energy and such a different vibe. And I felt like by getting a message like that, it made me feel that I really am helping accomplish what I'm wanting in this message, which is just really bringing a lot more women together, building more human connection, and just reminding all of us that, yeah, we are innately human. So much of what we go through it's not unique in the sense of like, it's only you. And so I trust that what I've gone through is not only me. And if I share this story and you relate to it, then you feel less alone than maybe I did or the women before me. And so that's really the purpose of why I did this. Now let's continue on with launch day because it wasn't all on the up and up and the positive. So now I'm like, how do I even explain this cocktail to you of like how I'm feeling? My brain is swirling in the sense of like it was launch day. I felt like I had just like exposed myself to the whole world. And I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to put my phone away. I'm not going to look at it. I'm just going to keep going. We'll check the stats in a bit. And so I come back, I check the stats and I see that it says 1.7. And I'm like, 1.7? 1.7 people have downloaded it? 1.7 people are live streaming it? Like, what is that? What is that? Sometimes I'm just so delusionally optimistic that I wonder if someone's spiking my water bottle because I'm like, you sweet, sweet soul. It was 1.7 stars. It was my review rating. It was, in fact, the reviews on my podcast. My rating was at 1.7 stars. Now, here's a little bit of, metadata analytic backend work of podcasts and platforms that I will share with you. When a podcast is first released to the platform, so many of these platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all of these platforms are algorithm based. So what that means is they are interpreting when an episode is released, when a show first comes out, how well it's being received by its audience based on the interaction. So when your podcast first comes out, if you get, 3 5-stars, the podcast is at 5 stars. You get 4 1-stars. It's now going to take you probably 75 to 85 stars to counteract a single 1-star. So frustrating. Yeah. And so then what happens is those analytics are what the algorithm is reading to know whether or not people like this podcast. Should we push this podcast out as like new and upcoming? Should we feature this to people who also like this, and this podcast? Or is it an absolute dumpster fire? People hate it. Let's not put any power behind it. Let's not put any steam. It's not going to do well on the algorithm. So when my podcast was released, there were about 4 or 5 1-star reviews that were left on the podcast initially, right off the hop. Like I think I think there were like 2 5-stars and then like 5 1-stars. I was like, my God, they hate me. No, actually, I have to say, I'm really grateful. I knew right away. There was no way that maybe there's a way, perhaps, but it was a lot more inconceivable to me to believe that an absolute stranger listened to me pour my heart out and was like, yeah, I'm going to give it 1 star. So wasn't that great? As opposed to perhaps those people that gave me the 1 stars are the people that wouldn't have liked what I had to have said, that didn't enjoy the perspective that I chose to share on my podcast. And I gotta say, with a nickname like Care Bear, I don't have a lot of enemies. The list was pretty short, as was the list of 1 stars, you know? So like one could deduce. And now here's the thing. There has been a quote from Miley Cyrus that has been circling around social media. Now, full disclosure, I haven't vetted it that this is her that said it. I'm just reading a screenshot of a quote I saw on Instagram, but they're quoting her. This also sounds like something she would say, but full disclosure, I don't know that it was her. Here's the quote though. It said, I felt Miley Cyrus when she said, I didn't talk badly about you. I talked about what you did to me. If that makes you look bad, that's between you and your behavior. Because telling the truth about my experience isn't bitterness, it's clarity. And I'm not responsible for protecting someone's image when they had no problem damaging my peace. Sometimes the truth only sounds harsh because someone benefited from the silence. Mic drop. So again, I don't know if it was Queen Miley that said that, but I saw that quote and I just thought, maybe if you don't like what I had to say or how you're coming off in the story, that's more of a reflection on your own bad behavior than it is on me and my podcast project, you know? So I just thought that I would share that quote with you because it really resonated with me. And it was such a reminder that this is my story with my perspective. These are my memories. This is my healing. And it is me that is taking the risk of stepping into the arena to be seen. So then that's where it brought me to another one of my favorite quotes. I actually have this like carved into a beautiful like wooden art piece. It's with my ex-husband. I really should have taken that when I left, but it happened fast. Anyways, here's that really famous quote from Theodore Roosevelt that I want to share with you. And he talks about like, it's the man, the man, the man. You're going to hear me swap it out for the woman every now and then. Okay, I got to make it a little bit more relatable for the ladies. It's not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, or the woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again. But there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends herself to a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if she fails, at least she fails while daring greatly, and so that her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. So other people's criticisms, it stopped mattering. So those 2 quotes were something that I just really held on to while I was kind of navigating some of that initial just negativity on the podcast, because obviously that was very deflating. But here's the thing, because that negativity was on my podcast, I did a very human thing. I screenshotted it, posted it on my story, and I was like, whoever's choosing to do this, I hope you have the day you deserve. Like, if you've listened to the podcast, thank you so much. And you guys came out in droves. I was so overwhelmed. I was so shocked and just like pleasantly surprised. This is a brand new podcast. This is new. I have 1 episode. This is episode 2. And all of a sudden, the podcast was receiving dozens and dozens and dozens of reviews. Like as of now, my podcast has almost 45 reviews. It's sitting at 3.5 stars because so many of you have left 5-star reviews that have helped boost the rating back up so that hopefully future viewers and audience members can give this podcast a chance, give it a shot. And that makes me really excited. Now, that's the kind of irony that I wanted to talk to you about. That feels very Thrifting Sparks. To put yourself out there, to try, and then all of a sudden have life kick you in the teeth. That's what this podcast is about. It's about picking yourself back up when those setbacks do happen. And you guys helped me do that in real time after episode 1 aired, after those 1-star reviews came out. I didn't even have to ask you. You showed up, you listened, you engaged, you left a 5-star review, you commented, you DM'd me ways that me sharing my story might have helped inspire and motivate you. And so that irony that launching this podcast would put me in a front row seat to then go through the experience of what Thrifting Sparks really is. It was just such a beautiful reminder to just have that lived experience again. And so from the bottom of my heart, I need to thank every single one of you that sent a message, that left a review, that commented, that shared this podcast on your social media. Like, it was an overwhelming sense of gratitude that I felt. And I just want to say thank you again so much for that. If you were one of those people, thank you. So let this be a reminder for you. Think about Thrifting Sparks and the first time that I released an episode. They tried to silence me with those 1-star reviews, but instead they ended up accidentally handing me a megaphone to help connect me to all of those beautiful, right-hearted souls that were who my audience is, who this message was for. Maybe this message isn't for everyone, and that's okay. Maybe I'm not for everyone. That's okay. And same goes for you. But at the end of the day, it's about finding your people that are your people and going hard with them and sticking with them through everything. So if you've got a passion project, if you've got something that you've kind of been like, throwing around your noodle, maybe it's you've wanted to start a new business, maybe you want to launch a podcast, or maybe you want to try something new. Let this be an inspiration that when you do that and when you put yourself out there, it's a really beautiful opportunity for the right people to show up and help support you. We're not going to focus on the haters. We're going to focus on the people that make a substantial difference in filling our cup, in fueling us, and in relighting our spark. So this episode will not have a trash or treasure take for today. I have a feeling that a few of you can kind of deduce your own trash or treasure from today's episode. Trash being a hater, and treasure, all of these amazing tools and resources and ideas that I'm going to throw at you for catching your breath and just coming back home to yourself. And just a reminder, haters can throw hate and you can still end up being totally fine. They don't have to silence you. They don't have to scare you. You can just keep going on being your bad self. All right. And if me showing up helps remind you to do that, then hell yeah. So let's go ahead and get to the rest of the episode. You're going to see a magical outfit change as I all of a sudden come to you from the past when I had previously recorded this episode. So now before we begin, a gentle reminder that this podcast isn't a substitute for professional mental health care. I'm not a therapist, and I do strongly encourage you to go seek a mental health professional, whether you are actively in crisis or not. I think it's absolutely amazing. Therapy's completely changed my life, and so I highly encourage you to find a therapist. Now, today's episode is really more of an invitation for you to come back home to yourself. I so can relate to what it feels like when life is overwhelming. I used to own an e-commerce business. Well, I still do technically. I haven't legally exited yet, but when I was actively working in that business, we would work at minimum 40 hours a week, if not closer to 60. Then I also took clients in the evening as a lash artist and a makeup artist. So balancing 3 jobs while getting divorced and having to pack up my life into boxes, find an apartment, move out, all while not taking a single day off of work because I just didn't have that luxury. It was a lot. I was so unbelievably overwhelmed. And it was with the help of therapy and a lot of self-awareness, I was able to make a list of the things that really were helping me to catch my breath. And so what I wanted to do was share with you what my reset routine looks like. And it's not a guarantee that it's going to fix everything, but what it does feel like is it almost gives you those intentional steps of reminding yourself that like, you've got this one step at a time. We're slowly checking those boxes off until we can really just feel like we come home to ourselves. So now for me, when I'm dysregulated, I can tell my brain runs a lot faster than it normally would. It feels a lot louder. My emotions are a little bit more heightened. Things will maybe hurt my feelings a little bit easier. I'm more sensitive. Essentially, it's almost like the height of my luteal phase all the time. And it just feels terrible. I will feel shaky in my core. I will feel overstimulated by, my phone going off, the emails coming in. Everything feels like a lot. So when that happens and when I'm feeling super overwhelmed, this list is a reminder of the things that I have immediate control over. Because I think sometimes when we're panicking or we're spiraling or we are feeling really anxious, we are maybe focusing on the areas of our life that we don't have control over. So instead, we're going to shift our perspective to things we do have control over. And we're going to really take care of ourselves and our nervous system so that we are able to reset and tackle everything that we need to in our lives to move forward. So now the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this list, I have compiled into a nice little PDF download. Typically, I sell this PDF for $10, but as a listener of the podcast, I'm going to give it to you completely free. So please stay to the end of the podcast to get the discount code. I will also list it in the show notes for you with the link of where you can go get it. And then you can download this and kind of have it on your phone, your laptop, iPad, whatever works for you, just to kind of spark your brain to have some inspiration on ways that you can kind of catch your breath and come back home to yourself. Okay. So now the things in this list, they're in no particular order. Maybe I'm not saying do all of them because you're going to look at this list and you're like, Cara, there's a lot on here. I don't expect you to do all of them, especially not in one evening. That's certainly not doable. I don't expect you to do everything in one evening. I don't do all of this in one evening. What I do is I will open this up and I will scroll through the list and see what I just have the capacity for in that moment. It is about pulling something from this list that you are doing for your future self. This is really about doing things for our future self to make things easier for them and to feel like things are a little bit more in control. So the first thing that I have on my reset checklist is an everything shower. So if you haven't heard of what an everything shower is, as a girl, we are talking about the full whole kit and caboodle. Okay. We are exfoliating. We are shaving, not just our underarms, the whole body. Okay. Even for me, I'm single. No one's going above the knee, but I'm still going to shave because this is about us feeling good, feeling great in our skin. It's not about vanity. It's literally about resetting our nervous system through physical touch. So now one of my love languages is physical touch, living alone. Sometimes we can feel really touch deprived, but having an everything shower, feeling that warm water, even if it's not a shower, maybe it's a bath. Having that hot bath, that everything shower is really just a beautiful, comforting sensation on the body. You are also allowing yourself to be comforted by those comforting scents. We're going to wash your hair, deep condition, put a hair mask in, exfoliate your skin, shave everything so that you're smooth as a baby seal. Use those fancy body washes and the nice bath bomb if that's what you want, or a shower steamer. Treat yourself to maybe hanging some eucalyptus in your shower. Actually, I have a client who owns a really incredible company, Eucalyptico. I'm going to link it down below, but she has these incredible eucalyptus shower steamers that you can hang in your shower. And every time the hot water hits it, oh my gosh, it just feels incredible. And not sponsored. I just think that that is such a way to treat yourself. So do that. Do your skincare. This is all about just really pampering yourself and taking a moment to just kind of stop and pause and reset your body on a physical level. Okay. The next thing on the list is you need to fuel your body. I don't know if you're anything like me, but when my anxiety and my depression are up here, I have no appetite. I do not want to eat. I have zero desire to even look at food. If anything, normally I'm actually feeling so nauseous that I can't eat. But what I've learned is that I have to push through that negative sensation and I need to fuel my body. because whether or not you are being physically active, your brain, as active as it is burning a hell of a lot more calories than maybe you think. So when you are anxious, stuck, or spiraling, or you're frozen, I want you to remember to just pause and eat something. It doesn't need to be a Pinterest-worthy salad, okay? Maybe you're just ordering something in, or maybe you're just blending yourself a smoothie. Maybe you are making yourself your go-to bowl of Vector cereal with protein milk and some fresh fruit. It doesn't matter. I always sometimes like to think of myself like a baby, and I go back to saying, fed is best. We don't shame mothers that use formula or breastfeeding is superior or anything like that. Fed is best. And when you are hanging on by a thread, that's what we tell those mothers. And so that is the same rule that we apply to ourselves when we are hanging on by a thread. Fed is best. So if you hit the drive-thru and you grab yourself fries and a Diet Coke, listen, is that the healthiest long-term? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I'm just proud of you for eating something. Next thing on the list, we've got the brain dump. I love this one. Brain dumping is it's my favorite. Now, what is a brain dump? Brain dumping is where you are literally taking everything out of your mind and just throwing it down on paper. I read a quote once that says your brain is for having ideas, not for storing them. So what we're going to do is we are going to write down our thoughts, our feelings, our to-do list, the things that we're worrying about forgetting, the things that we have to get to, even if it's not right now. If it pops up, we are throwing it on our notepad and then we are writing it down. Whether you do this physically with a pen and paper or whatever it is. I also love to do it digitally. I use an app called Notion, in which it is kind of like my second brain. I throw everything into Notion. If you guys would ever love like a podcast or a video on how I do that, I'm happy to show you. But essentially, I don't rely on my brain for remembering things. So whether it's logins, whether it's my journaling, whether it's documents for work, whether it's what day of the month my friends' birthdays are, I write everything down and I put it in Notion. And then God forbid I forget something, I search it in that app and it pulls it up and it gets it for me. So yeah, that's where I brain dump. You can use your notes app in your phone. You can use the reminders app in your phone, Evernote, Google Docs. There's so many different options out there where you can kind of brain dump everything down. Now, don't edit it. Don't judge yourself. Just get it out, because clarity is on the other side of allowing your brain to exhale. I have been taking huge brain dumps for many a years, and I got to tell you, it feels great. You should try it. Now, next one is going to be, we need to review our calendar, because we are not going to actually feel like we are getting control if we don't know what's coming up. It's sometimes a habit to want to just like ostrich and just put our head in the sand, but it's really important to take a look at what you have coming up on your schedule, because then you are able to preemptively prepare for it instead of react to being behind the gun, which I hate that feeling, the feeling of forgetting something, not showing up, being late. Like nothing makes me feel worse than that. And so I work really hard to make sure that everything is in my calendar, even if it's down to like my mom's going to be stopping by to grab something Wednesday at 2, like I put that in my calendar. If I am going to be running out of groceries closer to the end of the week, I put that in my calendar. It's just so critical, because then I know I'm not forgetting anything and then I know it's out of my brain. Next thing on my reset list is to phone a friend. So this is a great one to have it stacked with something else on the list, because who of us doesn't have a Bluetooth pair of headphones that we can throw on and start chit-chatting with a friend, a loved one. Maybe it's your parent, maybe it's a coworker, your best friend, just someone that makes you feel that sense of connection. Because when we are really overwhelmed, when we are anxious, when we are depressed, if you are anything like me, you may have a tendency to isolate. And I am speaking from experience when I say that that actually does not help. So call someone while you tidy up your space, while you are cooking yourself dinner, while you're sitting outside. Just allow that conversation to just kind of soften the edges of the day for you. It helps you to heal faster and really remember that you're not alone. Now, one of the other things on my list is to meal prep for later. I hate this. I absolutely hate cooking now that I am by myself. I find it very depressing for some odd reason. But even if it's small, okay, even if we are doing overnight oats, chia seed pudding, chopping up veggies or fruit, pre-cooking protein, even if it's something small, that helps so much. Now, big tip, if you haven't tried grocery pickup yet, you need to try it. I have done it with Superstore and I've done it with Walmart. Walmart's free, Superstore charges you $1. But in my experience, they're both great. You order everything online. It's super simple because it also will remember everything you've ever ordered. I am a creature of habit. So if you are as well, it's really easy to just add your usual weekly reset items kind of into your cart. And then you reserve a pickup time. Usually it's like an hour time slot and you just go and park in the pickup area. They will bring it all out to your car and you drive home. So much easier. You don't have to spend time wandering the aisles of a grocery store and grabbing the stuff for yourself. So that for me has also really been great because sometimes just placing the grocery order can feel like a big task. So reducing the friction of having to even go into the grocery store is a feature that I just absolutely love. But genuinely though, if I prep meals, I will eat them. And so for me, it needs to be a lot of like lighter stuff. I don't love very dense foods, especially if I am just kind of in a little bit more of an anxious phase. So I eat a lot of Greek yogurt and fruit. I eat a lot of chia seed pudding, oatmeal, things like that, that just feel really nice in my tummy and still give me a decent amount of protein. Now, something else I love, because when you are healing from grief, or if you are single, or you know what, maybe you're married and yeah, that's fine too. But what you're going to do is you're going to date yourself and you're going to get yourself some fresh flowers. For me, there's just something so incredible about having fresh flowers in the house, the way they smell, the way I feel every time I look at them. There is no rule that says we have to wait for someone to get us flowers. So for me, I love to treat myself to go to Costco. I know, big spender, but I go to Costco and I get the 2 dozen package of roses. So it's 24 long stem roses and I think it's like $30. And they last forever. I put them all over my apartment and they add a really beautiful sense of energy into the space. And if you're having a little bit of a lower mood or a lower day, that's a really beautiful way to kind of cheer yourself up a little bit. Next on the list, we've got move your body gently. So movement doesn't have to be intense in order to be effective. We also know that movement is medicine. I am also really bad at this one. If it was up to me, I would just lay in my bed and binge Netflix until I died. But not super healthy, not the best. So instead, we can do a walk. We can do stretching. We can even just lay on the floor and do breathing exercises, some yoga. You're not trying to burn calories here or like prove discipline. You are simply reminding your body that it is still safe and it still is strong enough to be moved. So something else that has also been really helping me that I've added to the reset, because I do tend to forget this sometimes, is I make it a practice of reframing the moment. So overwhelm doesn't mean you're behind. Oftentimes it can mean that we're in transition. So something old is loosening and something new is quietly taking shape. So ask yourself, what is this season teaching me? What am I being asked to release? What am I learning? Something I'm reminding myself right now is that a comeback does not need to be loud in order to be powerful. So I want you to keep that in mind. And also to please remember your wins. This is something I love to journal. I love to document. I actually, in my Notion, I have a page that is called my win list. And when I do something that makes me really proud, I add it to that list. And I like to review this when I'm feeling a little bit more down in the dumps. They are moments where maybe you've made a brave decision, you've reached a milestone, you followed through, or you showed up on something that matters. This is you proof. This is you showing up for you. This is a reminder of moments where you have already carried yourself through. And it's just a reminder to peel yourself out of judgment and to just put yourself back in the state of reminding yourself of your resilience, reminding yourself of your grit and your ability to move forward. So sometimes when doubt creeps in, bring yourself back to that list because it is genuinely evidence of who you are and what you are capable of. And you know what? For me, those little moments of being able to go back and read that, sometimes I'm laying in bed, sometimes I'm in the bath, sometimes I'm so overwhelmed and I'm sitting in my car and parked in a parking lot. And reading that list has reminded me of the hard things that I have carried myself through and the things that I never thought I could do and I did. And yeah, just keep that list open and remind yourself of really what a badass you are. So that's what I have for my reset list. This is really ways that help me catch my breath. And the reason I say that is because when life gets so overwhelming, I literally feel like my head is underwater. And so this is like my little snorkel that you can put on to help you catch your breath and just really move forward, because sometimes all you just need is one big breath of air to make those couple few next decisions that open you up to something beautiful. So no matter where you are in your journey, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast, subscribe to Thrifting Sparks. I'm so glad to have you here. And also share this episode with somebody that you think might benefit from any of these tools or practices. If you have something too that you use to catch your breath, please share it with us in the community. I'd love to hear about it. You can comment it on social media, send me a DM, shoot me an email, whatever works for you. I would love to hear from you. And I'm just very honored to have you here. And I hope to see you in the next episode. All right. So in the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of the people that you love, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.